longest playoff streak drought in the NFL. And it's just like time flies, man. The butt fumble and everything else. The Rex Ryan years don't feel that long ago to me. And the Coughlin years don't feel that. And they really, really were. It's been a mess on both accounts here. But first up, you mentioned Saquon. Were you surprised ultimately how the Saquon Barkley drama actually ended up here?
So I thought a long-term deal would get done just because at the end Saquon would be like, hey, this is going to be more cash flow than the alternative, and he wouldn't be happy about it, but he eventually would fold. But he stood his ground and didn't sign the contract. So you're like, all right, franchise tag. He's not going to miss games. Like if anyone knows Saquon, he's not going to miss games, but he's going to miss training camp, right? That was always the assumption. But I remember talking before Tuesday is I could see like if the Giants want to just say like sign the 1-year deal now, but it would come to camp, but we will put a clause in that we won't franchise tag you again. I think that would be worth it. But so when we saw that contract on Tuesday, like, oh, that definitely has that clause in it. But no, it didn't. And the incentives, like the franchise tag is $10.1 million. The contract he has now is 10.1 up to 11 mil. So it's $900,000 in incentives. And think about how good of a year Saquon had last year. He didn't hit any of the incentives in the contract. And so he's basically playing on the franchise tag, but showing up to camp, which is, you don't see that really too often with negotiations like this. And they still have the option next year. So I was shocked that he's in camp to start. But I guess I wasn't shocked that it ended towards the tag.
Were the jokes fair that you saw that immediately came out after Saquon signed the contract that he ended up doing and now he's back? Or do you think it was just he didn't really have many options and it just kind of hit him that like there wasn't much he could really do at this point with his contract this year?
So there's two, like the side from like that he shouldn't have done it is make the Giants as uncomfortable as possible. Go through all the press. Even when he did sign, all the questions were about Saquon. Andrew Thomas signed a $120 million contract. Like 2 of the 8 questions were about Saquon. So making the Giants as uncomfortable as possible was like the play. Like, hey, don't do this to me again, or it's going to get real, real ugly. But Saquon realized, like, hey, I'm going to play games on this contract anyways, so I might as well get some incentives in it. And Saquon's hyper-focused on his image. Like, hyper. And he understands he's in the New York media, and he wants to be here, or, be with the Giants for life. And it does, even if it's not fair, him missing camp would have turned fans on him. And I don't think he was really ready for that. But he's just like he took a team. He put the team before him, which is like you don't really see that anymore, and kind of rightfully so. But it's like a kind of a lost art that he put the team before his self-interest and showed up. But I think he just hurt him to be slandered by the fans that love him, and also coming off of the first winning season since 2016. They're getting back in action, and I don't think he wants to miss out on any of that.
Do you think this is his last year with the Giants?
I do, because I don't see there being them giving him a better deal than what he got this past year. Like, what can he do for them to offer him a better deal than what was offered this past offseason? Now, maybe they offer what they offered at the bye week and before the franchise tag was applied, and I would. Going back, I would take that. So maybe that's what happens, but I don't know if the Giants are going to be willing to do that because they have the franchise tag again. So I think either they let him test, a free agency and they end up with the best offer, or they do some type of like tag and trade where it's like, okay, go negotiate your best contract. We will trade that for a 6th-round pick. But I do think it is, because I don't think Joe Shane wants to give him a long-term contract. Like, they know how important he is to the team, how important he is just as like a human being, and that's a big part of it, and how much the Giants organization loves him. But I truly don't think that he wants to pay a running back who's been injured. I know all the running back conversations, but specifically to Saquon, has missed a lot of games, and when banged up with smaller injuries, doesn't always deal with them the best. So I don't think he really wants to give him a long-term deal. And if that didn't happen this offseason, I don't see it happening next offseason.
Speaking of Andrew Thomas,